Hey, paisans, the time has come. On the air since 2009, the independently produced, non-FCC compliant champ of video game talk podcasting. Here comes Tiger Claw Radio. Here's your host, Critical Failure.
Welcome everybody to Tiger Claw Radio. We're going to talk about some video games. We're going to listen to some music. We're going to have a good time. This week I've got a 20-minute, I don't know, I guess you'd call it a captain's log, something I did on my phone. And we've also got a mystery game. We're going to play some tracks. You're going to try and guess the game. I feel like it's going to be a really, really easy one this week. So yeah, let's play the... so stupid. Let's play the first track from the mystery game. Stick with us. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Oh my gosh, can you feel that? I can just... That's like from one of the best moments in that game as well. Do you already know what it is? I can't reveal it yet. I can't, but I'd love it that there's those of you out there who immediately know that game. And if you do, awesome. If you don't worry, because you will. I guarantee you, amongst the people who listen to this, if you're going to figure it out before I tell you. And with that, I'll tell you what, I've got a 20-minute bit that I recorded here in the studio yesterday with my Sonics. We used my phone so that he could play games while I did it. I'm going to go ahead and play that, and then we will touch base afterwards, and we'll check out another track from the mystery game. Stick with us. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. This is the captain's log. It's Friday night. I miss those Vancasts, man. I needed them to make sure I could get a full show going on Friday night because everything's so busy. I'm here with Junior. He's clicking around on some NGU Idle. And
no, it's Territory Idle.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Getting my Idle games confused. I play three of them at once now. Anyway, so the Steam sale for the summer has come to a close, and I only bought one game the entire sale, and it was Gat Out of Hell, which I guess would be Saints Row 4.5. Still big into my Saints Row kick. But yeah, it's kind of unheard of for me to only get one game during the Steam sale. I feel like I've matured as a human being. Also, when they rolled out the new library that they have now, it just burned my categories to the ground. Every major sale, I would make a category for it, and I'd put in the games I got during that sale, so I could see every major sale purchases for the last 5 years. And it just all got ruined. So now I don't quite feel the need to populate a category. It's just this is the one game I wanted, and that was all I got. And you know what? I think I'm all the better for it. A lot of good stuff, though. There was a lot of games I would have went crazy for otherwise. But some format changes to Steam. I'm a big Steam user. Excuse me, I like the community aspect of Steam, or at least I used to. I don't really do much with it anymore. What's up? You can talk. It's okay.
Wheatfield Farm here.
Oh, yeah, that works. That's cool. I don't really have a plan. I know that once you, what is it, the shipyard, all that's dependent entirely on wood. So I tend to go wood heavy. But I was kind of thinking we would do this, this map we would battle on. So try and lay out the tiles as though you're going to use Oni. And
I know the perfect tile right now for battle. This one.
You can put that. I didn't actually realize this for the longest time, but you can put the thing anywhere, and it will let you fight for any tile. You can put the academy right here and still fight for this tile.
Yeah.
I didn't know that for a long time.
I knew it, but I didn't. I saw the stuff. But I didn't always understand it.
Yeah, I had to do the Divine Challenge before I figured it out. Territory Idle's a good game, by the way, out there who have not yet played it. Lots of clicking, lots of progress bars that fill up, and increase a number once they've filled, much like a JRPG. Oh, excuse me. Oh my gosh. Right, I was talking about the Steam sale. So there was a new feature that they rolled out in Steam that I wanted to go over briefly, and it was this Steam shop thing with points. Mostly just like profile type items and that sort of thing. You can buy yourself an animated backdrop for your profile, which is kind of neat. You can get yourself a frame for your profile, which is kind of neat. I bought a couple of them actually. I don't have one that animates because they wanted $20 for it, and heck no. But I do have a couple of non-animating plebeian frames for my stupid little face there on Steam. And yeah, it's kind of cool. But here's what I really like. Here's where I think they really hit the nail on the head. They added a feature where when you're looking at guides in Steam, user-made guides, you can give somebody a kudos of 100 points. Okay? The guide gets a little thumbs up or whatever it is. I think it's 2 thumbs up. And then whoever wrote the guide gets 100 points. And it costs the person 100 points to do it. I think that is awesome because I've put a lot of work into trying to get good guides on Steam for old games. Okay? I remember when they first rolled out the Steam Guides feature, and at that time, that weekend, every game you could think of, the guide section was empty. So I made it my mission to find classic games that I really enjoyed and make some kind of guide for them. So I have a lot of guides for these old games, stuff that now has a ton of stuff. Like I got a guide for the original Unreal Tournament 1999 edition, Game of the Year edition, whatever it is. I've got a guide for the first one I ever wrote was for Civilization 3, and there were no guides at the time. Now there's like 10 or something. The original Quake, things like that. I put together the guide for Hexen. If you go buy yourself a copy of Hexen, and then you go to the user guides looking for what the codes are, I did that one. All these stuff. So a couple of those guides have acquired kudos, which made me feel really good. And the ones that got them were ones that were really difficult to make as well. I got them on X3, the space game, right? Super complex space exploration game. I bought X3. I want to say which X3 had a couple editions. Which one's the one I bought in the box? Give me a second. It's funny, I bought it in box and then I just played my Steam copy, which is the dumbest thing in the world. X3 Reunion, and I remember being super excited when I got this because it's hard to play, but what a cool game. Like, say what you will about how it plays. I know it's not perfect. The X games are not great, but such a cool game. Oh my gosh, every one of these games is unbelievably cool. So when I got the box, I opened it up, and sure enough, inside it, there's a quick reference guide for all the complex controls. Because this is a really complex game. Oh my gosh. It's not the most complex ever. That goes to the Hearts of Iron series. But very, very complex. So one of the things I found in here, and I don't know why I'm trying to dig it out now, but was oh my gosh, I didn't realize there were so many CDs. Whoa. I don't know if I've ever even installed this off the disc. I think I just looked at the documentation and that was enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 CDs. That's 6, right? Yeah. Wow. That's a lot. 6 CDs. I hope I didn't lose the guide. Jeez Louise. There's a quick reference guide in here that was like a big deal. And I used the quick reference guide to build my Steam guide for the keys. It's like, hey, here's all the button combinations and all the things you press. And it's really long. And I was looking at like the change log that I put at the end of the guide. It took me like a week to write that thing. So, and this was years ago too. So it was cool to see somebody leave a kudos on that. And I did the exact same thing with another really obscure tank game. I can't think of what it's called, but it's one I have in no? Not one I have in big box, but I found the documentation at the used bookstore. It's called like Assault on the Rhine or something. I can't even think of what it's called. I found some old instruction manuals at the used bookstore. I was like, hey, they sell that on Steam. Let's make some guides out of it. Somebody left a kudos on that as well, which is pretty baller because it always feels nice to get to experience human beings being human beings to each other. All right, now give me a second, because I have opened X3 Reunion. Editor's Choice at Gamerzone.com. They gave it a 9 out of 10, bro. Not good enough for a 10 out of 10. Get out of here with that crap. Every time I look at one of these games, I'm always like, I gotta try this again. And then I install it and I play it and I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I haven't been playing it. They say, if I told you about it, it sounds like the coolest game ever. You get to fly a spaceship and you can shoot people, or you can like dock at big space stations and buy stuff and build an empire and hire an entire fleet and stuff. It's pretty cool, but my goodness, it's one of these. There's a handful of games that just were too complex for me to play. I just couldn't do it, and that is one of them. And I've tried many times over. I think my copy of X2 even has like 12 hours in it, and I couldn't figure it out. All right, how are we doing here? Not too bad. Pushing 9 minutes. I kind of have a hankering to try and reinstall X3. Let's see it. Let me see the mouse for a second.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it right back to you. I want to see how long it takes to reinstall X3. Give me a second here, boy. X2 The Threat, X3 Reunion, X3 Terran Conflict, and X3 Albion Prelude. Reunion, right? That was the box I just had? Yes, Reunion. Here, this is it. Okay. Install. 4.13 gigabytes. That's pretty big. That's an hour. It's not too bad. All of the CDs in a single stack looked really intimidating, but it's really not that bad. All right. I've apparently put 6 hours into this game that I still don't know how to play, but I'm going to give it another try. And in the meantime, we'll minimize that. You can go back to Territory Idle, kiddo. Okay. So, let's talk about complex games for a minute. I have always thought that complexity in video games, even when it's really, really high up there, is a good thing. Because the more complex you can make a game, the more, assuming that it's complexity that you can understand and get into, it can elongate the playability of a game. At least that was the design philosophy back in the 80s and the early 90s, and like on the computer games and stuff of that era. Let's make them hyper complex so that there's a lot to dig into, and that's how we'll keep their attention. It's really tough to do that now because the games have to be like they have to get your attention fast and hold it. And a game like X3, that doesn't give a crap if you've been able to get interested in the first 20 minutes. I put 12 hours into X2. 12 hours. It should be... If somebody says to you, hey man, once you're 13 hours in, that's when it all makes sense. That's a game I'm not going to buy. But if you can get over the learning cliff, then you got a game you're going to play for years to come. I say it all the time, and I believe it's true. All right, we got our shipyard. So that we need to get some more than it's going to take more than one forest camp because it's all wood to upgrade the shipyards.
And also, since this gives us stone, we don't even have to build the core to make some temples. See?
That's a good point.
So I'm going to make 2 temples.
So are we just here's a question. If we build the thing to fight for the tile, are we just seceding to never build the training hall? Do you know what I'm talking about? There's the extra building that makes your fighter guy better, but it takes a lot of stone. If we're going to skip that altogether, then we don't need to build a quarry.
Let's skip it.
Skip it? Alright, that's fine.
2 temples coming right up.
Couple of temples, I would do the rest forest camps.
Yucky, because we don't eat temples.
Or maybe all the rest forest camps except for one, and then make that one a school. Because that school's going to boost the rest of the forest camps.
Let's make 2.
You want 2?
Uh-huh.
Alright. All right. So, right, I was going somewhere with this complexity in video games thing. I'm always interested to know stories about games that have that learning cliff. I like to hear about people that have like overcome the learning cliff and found a gem. Most people who play Paradox Interactive games will tell you a story like that. Hey man, Europa Universalis is an awesome game, but you got to stick with it. About 100 hours in, it starts making sense. But those people, you find somebody who plays EU3 or EU4, they got a game they put 1,100 hours into without breaking a sweat. So I don't know. I know I had a guy on my Steam friends list for a long time who Hearts of Iron 2 was his game, and he had like 1,500 hours into Hearts of Iron 2. 1,500 hours played, by the way. This is a situation where the guy had like maybe 20 games in his Steam collection tops, and it was Steam for him was the Hearts of Iron 2 thing. And that was it. That was all that mattered. So, I don't know. It seems weird to me because I experience video games in such a different way. I like to play smaller games and I bounce around a lot. I bounce around too much to really do that. And here's a guy who's living life on the polar opposite. You couldn't be more opposite and still be playing video games than this guy. But he really found something. That was it. Every time he sat down to play video games, he knew exactly what he was going to play. He knew exactly what he was going to do, and that was enough for him. I envy him for that, to be perfectly honest. These past, how long has it been I've been going on and on about Saints Row on the air?
Forever. Why?
It's been like a month and a half, at least.
At least you're not talking about Quake.
Quake's still on my desktop.
No!
There it is.
Why?
You can't play it. You're too young.
Good.
It's an M-rated game.
Good.
I don't know if it actually had a letter when it came out. I don't think they had started doing that yet. I have to double check, to be honest. I'm not sure.
If it did, I'm willing to bet it was F-.
Was it rated B for boring?
Yes. No, F-.
That's such an awesome game. How dare you? How dare you, you Zoomer?
I dare easily.
What do you think about Fortnite? You gonna play Fortnite?
No.
Doesn't like Fortnite. That makes more sense to me that you wouldn't like Quake if you don't like Fortnite. Because Quake and Fortnite, I almost said they have a lot in common, but they're definitely... Quake and Fortnite are both like generation marking titles. Like a person who likes Quake, you're usually going to think of somebody like me, who's my age. And a person who likes Fortnite, you'll usually think of someone like you, who's your age. So they're both great, like iconic games in that sense. And you're both trying to kill everyone. Yeah, so there's that too, I suppose. I don't know. So you guys out there listening, what is the most complex game that you've dug into, and do you still play it? How long did it take you to learn? Some complex games that I really enjoy. Civilization, Sid Meier's Civilization. I never would have figured out how to play Sid Meier's Civilization. I've told the story many times about how Hemrock got me that copy of Civ 2 complete in box. The gem of my big box collection. There it is, Civ 2 multiplayer in the shiny gold box. And I didn't know how to play it. I installed that thing. I was like, all right, my good buddy sent me this game. It looks great. I should install it and figure it out. So I put it in. This is like the first time I ever played Civilization. I put it in. I loaded it up. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm clicking around. There's, things, whatever. You build a city. Oh, okay. What do I do? And the only reason
Nothing, you just wait.
Nah,
for no good reason.
Challenge you to figure out Civilization without somebody explaining to you. I challenge you. You could probably do it now if you play one of the modern games because they realize it's that way. Get your finger out of my face. This is a game... Oh, I said your real name again. Gosh, give me a second. 17 minutes in. No, we can do this. I just gotta write that down. 17 minutes in. Yeah. So this is a game that came with like a phone book for an instruction manual and a giant chart for a tech tree. Like there's a poster in there, a big poster, and you lay it out and it shows you like what technologies to research and crap like that. So it doesn't even tell you in a readable way in game. You got to look at the poster and you'll be like, all right, my people are going to research this. And then we go this, and that. The only reason I was able to figure it out was because Hemrock called me and like, I can't remember if it was a call or no. I guess it was Skype. We were using Skype at that time. And he sat on Skype and he was like, all right, this is how you play. Look at the screen. Look at this. What do you see here? What do you see there? Let's walk through it one screen at a time, and I'll explain everything. So I got lucky because I was able to figure that out. Nobody's really been able to explain Europa Universalis, any of those games, to me in that same way. Yeah, so that is a game that I consider to be very complex. But it, if you can take it in, if you can figure it out, you got something you're going to play for years to come. How many years ago was that, Hemrock? How many years has it been? It's been at least like 7 years. Probably more. Still playing it, though. Give me a second. See, 19 minutes in. All right, I'm going to get ready and wrap this up here. But before I go, I do want to mention something that I did a couple weeks back. I think I said this on the air once, but I wanted to draw a spotlight to it again. I do have an archive page over on archive.org where historically I've put every episode of Tiger Claw Radio. I kind of stopped a while back, but a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, I went back and got it completely up to date. So now, if you want an MP3 copy of any of the surviving episodes of Tiger Claw Radio from the last 11 years, you can go there and you can download it in MP3. Now, there are a couple episodes that are missing just because I don't know what happened to them. And when we were putting the archive together, they just didn't turn up. And it breaks my heart because one of them was a very early TCR that I did with Splatter Trigger. And he doesn't make videos anymore. So that really sucks because that was an awesome episode and he was an awesome guy. So Splatter Trigger, if you're out there, brother, I hope your life's good. I hope your family's doing well. I hope you guys are all safe. And with that, it's kind of weird to say these words because I'm sitting here in the studio, but with that, I'm going to send you guys back to the studio.
Hello, you. This is Guru Larry, and you're listening to Tiger Claw Radio.
I'm going to be honest, after I dropped in that little quote-unquote van cast, Captain's Log, whatever you want to call it, I spaced really hard here editing in the studio. I just stared at Audacity for a solid minute and a half. Just thank goodness I have 20 minutes to fall back on. Woo! All right, boys and girls, we're going to get to another track from our mystery game to make it even more blatantly obvious what awesome game that is. But first, we're going to take a minute to thank the sponsors. It's a Patreon-sponsored program. So to these people, they give of their resources to make sure we can come back every week. So I like to thank them by giving them early access to the show. As soon as it gets done, whenever that is, I put it up for them, and I also read their names off and of how distinguished gentlemen. They are Hemrock, EmeraldRangers.com, Tecmo Balls, Darabka, Konstantin Kelman, and Eric Controller. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you're enjoying the party. So with that, let's go back and listen to another track. Listen close. See if you can figure it out. I feel like that one was a little bit harder than the one we played at the top of the show. Top of the show is a dead giveaway, in my opinion. I usually like to take the ones that are the most obscure, right? The hardest it is to guess the game. Usually the ones that come in later in the game, and I play those first so that you can't tell right away. But that one, I don't think it kind of came out that way. Awesome game. Very short tracks, very ambient sort of background, not at all chippy, at all. Do you know what it is? If not, we're going to check in one more time in just a bit. All right, let's see what we got here. Now that we've done my little Vancast bit, we've done some tracks. We got the fail bag coming up in just a while. A little bit lighter now because it's the summertime, which is great. I hope you guys are out there enjoying the sunshine, taking walks in your local neighborhood, staying safe, but getting that vitamin D. That's what you should be doing. Tis the season. When it gets cold and you're back inside all the time, we'll be here. TCR will be around. No big deal. The summer sale did come and go, like we talked about in the Bandcast, which is just fine. It feels like it feels good, man. I'll tell you what else happened. Another stack of PS1 games came in the mail. So these I ordered a solid 4 months ago, and they gave me a refund. I didn't ask for a refund. They just said, hey, here it is. Hang with me 1 second. Not those. Yeah, here we are. And good luck. Good luck me figuring out what the names of these are. But the first one is Bust a Move, Dance and Rhythm Action. Bust a Move, which when it came out in America was renamed to Bust a Groove. Really awesome that I have the Japanese original. That is a pre-Dance Dance Revolution. Pre-DDR, pre-Guitar Hero, pre-all that stuff, rhythm game. And I gotta tell you, I had a lot of fun with that game back in the day, playing the American version. Super glad to have that. The other two games, I think Bust a Move is the big one. Okay, Bust a Move is the star of the show. The other two I got Parlor Pro Junior Volume 2, which is Pachinko, and another Pachinko game. I don't know what the other one is. Cocoa Nuts, but that looks more like the company rather than the actual game. It's written in Japanese, but when I open it up, it looks like who the heck? I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I open it up and it looks like there's Lolo in it. Lolo and Lulu from Adventures of Lolo from the NES. It looks like that's who it is, but I could be mistaken that for Pachio-kun. They look very similar. Basically, Bust a Move in two Pachinko games is what it boils down to. So I think that's everything I was really looking forward to. The only stuff that didn't come that would have been nice is some of those Keystone JRPGs that I just got to poke around with, like Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy 8, 9, and 7 I got all in Japanese. None of them showed up. Dragon Quest 7 would have been awesome. And I think that's it. I think everything else showed up. So, yeah. What are you going to do? I'm loving having Japanese PS1 games, though. I really am. I didn't think that was going to be much of the kind of system I would get into importing, but yeah, it sure is now. How many do I have? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Is that it? 10? Are there any more? Yeah, 10. That's a pretty decent collection. It's a bigger collection that I ever would have thought I would get of Japanese PS1 games, because NG, who I was roommates with for a short period of time, years and years and years ago, NG got himself some Japanese PS1 games back in the day. This is pre-eBay, right? Before we had access to eBay. eBay was already a thing, I think, maybe, but we didn't do it. I don't know how he got these. I think they might have turned up at the local pawn shop somehow, but he got a hold of some of them, and I thought he was crazy for buying them at the time, because I didn't know how we would have played them. There was no... I want to say there was no PS1 emulation, but I don't know if that's true. It might have already existed and we just didn't know how it worked, or maybe we didn't have the hardware at the time to play it because it was, early 2000s, whatever. But I do remember some PS1 games, some Japanese PS1 games showing up at the pawn shop. Because I remember specifically they had Biohazard. It was either Biohazard or Biohazard 2, one of the Japanese Resident Evil games. And I was the biggest Resident Evil fan in those days. Because I thought, they were too scary to play, but I loved them so much. I loved what they were doing, the story, and there was really no other kind of game like it at the time, and I didn't know what Alone in the Dark was. So as far as I was concerned, when the original Resident Evil came out, that was the first game of its kind. Nothing in the world came close before it. Now that I know a little bit more, that's not quite true. Clearly, they drew inspiration from a few places, like a mixture of Sweet Home and Alone in the Dark. I didn't know about either one of those games at that time. So seeing that first Resident Evil game, bow, it blew my mind wide open, just like that scene in Scanners, where that guy's head turns into a watermelon and explodes. Dope. That was me, but in a good way. All right. What else we got here? Give me a second. Speaking of Scanners, scary movies is something I wanted to touch on, because when it comes to scary movies, I've been digging back into the 1980s, and that's really what I've been interested in watching. It's old movies that I've known about forever, that I always put off watching just because, I don't know, maybe I was afraid to watch them, or, what have you. And sure enough, going back to watch the scary movies now, I found some really amazing stories. I found some movies that were not great also, but I found some really great stories. I saw Dead Alive a few weeks back, which was a fun experience. That was That was a movie that I had been afraid to watch for a very long time, because Dead Alive has this reputation of being one of the bloodiest movies ever. It had like 80 gallons of blood or something like that when they made it. It's a crazy movie. I saw Night of the Creeps. I think we talked about that. Also, like, that's one I was afraid to watch because I remember seeing like a heavy metal video that used it. But I had a great time watching that. Most recently, I watched They Live, finally. They Live it's not, I can't say it's my favorite of all the scary movies, because my favorite is The Thing. The Thing is an amazing movie. But They Live is a close second. Also a John Carpenter film. John Carpenter at his like very, very best. Okay? This is one of those things where if you are not into scary movies, all right, and if you have no interest, that movie, They Live, I would say is more of an action movie than a horror movie. They Live is an action movie. But if you're not going to watch it, get on YouTube. Okay? Roddy Piper and Keith David have the best hand-to-hand fight scene outside of a kung fu movie I have ever seen in a movie. This, again, we're setting aside martial arts movies, okay? Bruce Lee, all them guys, that's a separate thing altogether. I'm not even comparing those two. That's comparing apples to oranges. But Roddy Piper and Keith David, they go fisticuffs for like a solid 6 minutes of screen time. It just goes on and on and on. It is the best. It is the best. I love that movie, if for no other reason, just for that scene. It is the greatest fight scene. There's another movie. I mean, I mentioned Bruce Lee real quick. He did. What's the one he did with Chuck Norris? Way of the Dragon? Is that it? Something like that. I never saw that movie, and people say it's not worth it. But get on YouTube and watch the Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris fight. It lasts like 10 minutes, but that scene is the movie. Okay? And I have seen that scene many times, and it is worth it. The little cat and really young Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee, it is at his best, and that's a good time too. Eventually I'll sit down and watch that movie because I like Bruce Lee. But it is what it is. If you folks will permit me to talk about movies a little bit, okay? I know that the crowd is somewhat split. Some of you really dig these 1980s movies and some not so much, but I think the scary movies for me has been this weird way of like going back to that era of time and experiencing something new, It's like when we talk about NES games, everybody who listens to this has played every NES game. You've played them all. What's an NES game I could mention that you haven't played? Alfred Chicken? Are you listening to this now and you have never played Alfred Chicken for the NES? That's an NES game. I bet you've played it at least once. Come on, you've played Alfred Chicken. You downloaded it one time. You were looking around on a ROM site. Excuse me. And you downloaded it and you loaded it up one time and you were like, oh, this is weird. It's side-scrolling, I guess. And then you moved on. Is that what you did? Because I know that's what I did. I played Alfred Chicken one time, like 15 years ago, and I was like, nah. Nah. Is that a rare game now? Let's see what Alfred Chicken goes for. I'm going to look this up if you'll permit me. We're going to open up Firefox, the most bloated, heavyweight, obese software ever. I just think of someone morbidly obese with the little chair. And God bless the morbidly obese, not taking a dig at you. But when I think of Firefox as a person, it's a human being with the powered wheelchair, just barely chugging along.
I'll get that website for you.
I don't know, man. It's still loading. Sorry, we're having trouble getting your pages back. Good. I don't want you to get my pages back. We're going to eBay right now. Going to eBay. Looking at something on eBay apart from synthesizers and synthesizer gear. Oh man, it's still loading. Jeez Louise. Woo! Jump and Run Atlantis by AK Tonic. I'm just looking at the last few things I looked up. And then Bench Power. Development tools for synthesizer gear. I'm trying to find ways that I can Eurorack stuff runs off of 12 volts. So if I were to develop a Eurorack module, I would have to do it with 12 volts in mind. And all the breadboarding stuff I can find is all 9 volts. All the breadboarding stuff is 9 volts. If you're going to develop a circuit, you do it with 9 volts. So I have to figure out how you could take a 9 volt circuit and convert it and run it with 12 volts if that's possible. I don't want to spend time buying up electrical components and then prototyping something on a breadboard with 9 volts. Yes, now it's working, only to find when I hook it to a 12 volt power source, something goes wrong. So yeah, that's been a very slow moving venture, but we'll talk about that another time. That's not really this crowd's kind of thing. So let's go to Alfred Chicken, and I spelled chicken very, very wrong. Chicken. Alfred Chicken, Nintendo Entertainment System, $42, 11 bids. Why? Buy it now, $68. Alfred Chicken on the Game Boy. I didn't know it was on the Game Boy for $15. Alfred Chicken NES Plus Manual, $98 plus $5 shipping. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that's what it's worth, though. That just ooh, boy, I popped there. That just means that's what this guy is selling it for. Yeah, it's an expensive game. Is this a good game that I just forgot about or didn't know about? Now I'm genuinely interested. Has anybody out there played Alfred Chicken? I played it when I was telling you what I did. That's exactly what I did. Back in the days when if you wanted to collect ROMs, there was not really a central repository to get them. You would have to go around to little tiny ROM sites, and that's really how it worked. So what I'm going to do right now, Alfred Chicken gameplay. Let's look up some Alfred Chicken gameplay. I just want to see if this is as weird as I remember it. NES Long Play 818. Alfred Chicken. 1 year ago. World of Long Plays. Let's load this up. Let's see what we got. Yeah, and it is loading. And we'll skip it. Oh my gosh. There we go. How's that? There you go. Sound is good. Has a really good sound to it. Stage 2. It really doesn't look like anything special. It really doesn't. Doesn't look too bad. I mean, it looks like it was pretty well developed, you know? Like, it looks robust enough. Like, if you think back to the black box era games, how those were super simple. No, this is colorful. It's got a nice colorful background. It reminds me a lot of a slower moving and not quite as fun Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. Rescue Rangers is a good game on the NES. That's Capcom in their prime. I don't know who made this. Maybe if I go back and look at the title screen. Nope, it doesn't say. It just says Alfred Chicken. Interesting. Interesting. I kind of want to try Alfred Chicken again. Wow, I feel like I talked myself into something crazy. That's podcasting, I guess. All right. What do we have? 39 minutes in. Let's do one more track from the secret game, and I'm gonna flip through the soundtrack here and see if I can find the most dead giveaway. We'll do one last track, and then when we come back, we'll do the fail bag and we'll call it a show. Stick with us. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. So what do you think? Did you figure it out yet? Came out for the Sega Saturn, came out for the PS1, right in that era there. And that is the original Tomb Raider from 1996. Oh my gosh, the first Tomb Raider game. My heart, it just gets warm inside when I think of the original Tomb Raider. And what kills me about that old Tomb Raider, it's, okay, very easily accessible on the computer, okay? Especially when these big sales come through town, like the one that just ended. I didn't look it up at that time, but typically you can get that game for like 89 cents on GOG.com or on Steam. And what kills me is that song that you just heard, it runs about 2 minutes. That song plays in the middle of the second stage. All right, the second stage, the second stage takes about an hour to get through in the original Tomb Raider. And when I first played it, it took me like 2 hours because I was checking stuff out. Halfway through the second stage, there's one part where you walk into this giant chamber and there's water on the ground. There's like a pool on the bottom, and you have to kind of go around the perimeter and do some basic platforming and then get upwards. As soon as you walk into that chamber and see that water, that song cues. Okay, it's timed perfectly. That was what Tomb Raider did that I loved. Short songs that were cued to play when you would enter certain areas. There's another one like at the very beginning of the second level where you walk out and then there's like 3 wolves that attack you, and as soon as they attack you, it's great. I love it. If you buy it on the computer, all of that stuff is gone. The music cues, and they added so much. That mostly silent when you played Tomb Raider. Mostly silent. All it took was 2 minutes in the middle of a 2-hour level, put in just the right spot, and that sticks in my mind for decades. Okay, great game. Now I have heard if you buy it on the computer, you can patch it in. All right, you talk about a fan base. All right, the people who love Tomb Raider have loved that game forever. You know what I mean? So there are patches to restore that, like PS1, Sega Saturn type content. But I never did it. I don't know. Just never did it. Yeah, so that's Tomb Raider. You know what I also loved about that game was Tomb Raider marked like the beginning of it was like a coming of age game for me when it came to video games, because when I was very young I would watch my older brothers play games and they would be able to just naturally get so much further in any given game than me, just because they were older and they knew how these things worked. Their brains were more developed, so they were able to make these snap decisions that video games required. Games like Mega Man, they would just get further. So if I wanted to see more of a video game, I would watch them play. Tomb Raider was the very first game where my older brothers, I was able to surpass them when we played the original Tomb Raider. They were stuck like on the first stage, and I managed to get to about stage 3. And then once they saw how to get past that one part, then they blasted past me and did very, very well. But that one just like short bit where I was the first one to kind of pass through that 2-hour second stage, that was like a big deal for me as a young lad. And maybe that's part of the reason why I remember that franchise so fondly. Yeah, it's good stuff. Even when they started changing it up, like the Tomb Raider Legends era, those games aren't bad. They're different, but they're not bad. All right, I've talked about Tomb Raider many a time on the air. It's one of those tired old things. The chosen games, as Duravka says, our good buddy Sean. I love that. He says the chosen games, those games that are just in your heart. Doesn't matter what the rest of the world thinks. Doesn't matter. That is one of the chosen games. And with that, 45 minutes in, let's head over to YouTube and take a look at the comments and see how the rest of you guys are doing. I hope you're doing well. Oh, yeah. While I'm loading this up, I wanted to talk about this little project that I started working on. Because I love starting wild projects and then abandoning them. Because that's just what I do. I have started a net label. Quote unquote, I don't like using this term, a record label on the internet. Following in the footsteps of Vito, who runs DMT Tapes FL. It's more of just like a place where you can go and get free music, and if you're into synthesizers and that sort of stuff, then we can work together and get some albums published. So I like the idea of of making just simple jam sessions that don't require a ton of thought, that are just fun, and then putting them out and not necessarily having to worry about messing up my old my 10-year-old Bandcamp page. I started a second one. There's 2 albums from me that I've been sitting on for a while. There's a 3rd one coming out soon, and there's another one from a house artist in Belgium whose name escapes me, but met this guy on Reddit. He's been doing a couple of demos on YouTube. I reached out to him, was like, hey man, we should put some MP3s out on this little label thing. And he was like, that sounds great. It sounds awesome. Was it VM something? Oh my gosh, I gotta look it out. This poor guy. I gotta do him justice. Hang on a second. Let's pop up in Bandcamp while I'm trying to dig into the studio here. Yes, okay. Acid for Sober Days is the name of the album he made, with 2 tracks that run around 8 minutes each, 7.5 and then 8:14. And the guy goes by ZVM. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. I'm looking at his layout. He's got what is that? A TS3 and an Arturia Mini Brute. A couple other things. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. A little bit long to play here on the show, but just a quick sample. There you go. You hear that? Yeah, loop-driven house music. Very, very good. Good stuff. Yeah, community modular and electronic. That's so hopefully we'll get some more stuff up there and we can have some fun. With that, let's go check out the... Oh, yes, before I move on, Desm, don't think I forgot about you. We need to get you something together. You've been putting off making your Bandcamp for years and years. You said, let's get like 3 tracks together, you and me. I want you to have a CME release. Come on, brother, we can do it. All right, let's go to the comments and see what we got. We got a lot from our good buddy Sendu from Light Studios. He's been powering through the old episodes. Sendu, my brother, hope you're doing well, man. Let's go back. How far did we get last week? 5 days ago, 6 days ago, 1 week ago. That's Mecha Menace. Okay. Light Studios says, I'd go to Tiger Fest. I don't care what the game is. I'd go for the company. Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. We're going to make this happen. You, me, and Hemrock, that's enough to make it real. And then we can open the door, reach out to a few other people, see if anybody else wants to join us. I think that'd be great, man. Absolutely. Mecha Menace says the goal is to produce one note that sounds neat, then piece it together with other notes. Wait, hold on a second. Is the goal of this to produce one note that sounds neat, then piece it together with other notes, one by one, to form a composition? He's asking about the Eurorack Atari Punk Console Plus guitar pedals. Not really. Okay, so the idea is that the Atari Punk console has a very specific sound, okay? It's a buzz it's got an oscillator and a divider, and the oscillator cannot reach every note. It can't hit every note on the scale like you can with a standard oscillator. It uses a divider to kind of step up and step down. So the idea is you take the oscillator and you sort of key it into something that works, and then you can move the divider to sort of bounce around a little bit. I don't know. Put it to you this way. It's a very, very limited noisemaker, okay? So you take this basic, super limited noisemaker, and the idea is, how can we morph this sound using After Effects? That's the goal. And that's why when you listen to it, it doesn't really sound like, there's no song in there. It's just about what can we do with this sound. And that's why it's the same note over again. I didn't see this comment come in. I should respond to this in text, because that's a really good question. Is that the only one we got from Mecha Menace this week? No, he's got another one. Okay, good. Light Studio says, your son is very blunt. Yes, he is. That is one of his finer qualities. Desm 101 says, 6 minutes and 10 seconds in, I only recently started watching Twitch more, mostly because I met a few cool people who stream retro and stuff. I do stream there, but it's not very often at all. I think it's interesting, but I watch YouTube a lot more. 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Yeah, man. Raiden, is it Raiden or Raiden? Raiden 3 is great. I always think of the Tiger Score Mini Mag and competition. I still have them printed and posted on a bulletin board in the game room. Yeah, man. I still think the Tiger Score was a good idea. Maybe there's no market for it. Maybe there's no... And it was a ton of work, too. That's the other thing. Every month was really ambitious. I didn't know how ambitious it was. Like, maybe we could do a Tiger Score biannual or something like that, like once every 6 months or something. But it was too much work. Oh, my gosh. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. I'm proud of what we did, though. And I'm glad you printed them out. Good for you, man. That's awesome that you did that. So I feel like it didn't just, go out into the nothingness and get ignored by everyone. That's it from Desm. So Desm, hope you're doing good, man. Keep making music. Keep playing games. Keep playing Raiden 3. Good game. Here's Mecha Menace's real comment for this past week from 342. He says, I recommend checking out the Choo Choo Rocket Japanese commercial. You'll be glad you did. I'd rather play multiplayer Choo Choo Rocket over Tetris any day. I remember the 4-player sessions back in the college days were intense. There's a new Choo Choo Rocket game that came out recently, but it has maps that curve around in shapes rather than simply flat overhead maps. I haven't played it. It is for phones. It supports multiplayer. It probably doesn't have the same room multiplayer. You could play all in the room if you all own it on your phone. Would have to buy the app individually. You know what, Mecha? Oh, wow, I'm glad you brought that up. You know what? We got Choo Choo Rocket on my very first tablet, and it was a faithful port and a game that worked well on a tablet as well. I'm gonna go see. I got that on Google Play because we're Android people. I don't know if it's still available. I'm gonna check on it right now. Because on a tablet it would work well. Okay. But on a phone, even the larger phones that they have now, not so much, because my fat fingers, it would have a hard time zeroing in on that grid. Maybe if you had a Kindle and you side-loaded the App Store or the Google Play. Give me a second. Choo Choo Rocket. Let's see what we got. Nyan Nyan Rocket? Did it go down? Oh wow, maybe it's gone now. That sucks really bad. Nyan Nyan Rocket. Early access. Yeah, there's a Choo Choo Rocket clone called Nyan Nyan Rocket. And it is 100% identical. But good for them. Good for them. If Sega can't do it, somebody else should, in my opinion. In my opinion. What do you think about that? If Sega can't do it, I don't know. I looked up Choo Choo Rocket on Google Play. I didn't get anything. I don't know. Maybe it's in the iStore, or maybe it's going by something else. Who knows? But yeah, I'd be interested to see. Hopefully they made it work somehow. Oh yeah, right. The commercial. Let's check that out. While we're on the subject of Japanese commercials, have you guys seen the Japanese commercial for Sonic Spinball? That is the first Japanese video game commercial that I saw ever that stuck with me, because this is in the early internet days. I don't know how he got it, but NG got it on his computer somehow, and it was not from YouTube. It was just some file site that he got. Japanese commercial. Took the time to download it off of dial-up, and it's yes, we're gonna watch this. Guys talking Japanese, be super fast, trying to sell it, and in the middle of it, funky action in English, and we just thought that was the funniest thing. It was just that game for us forever is funky action. Check out the Japanese commercial for Sonic Spinball. Sonic Spinball, funky action. All right, Choo Choo Rocket Japanese TV commercial. Let's give it a try. All right, let's try this here. Oh dear. I love it. Especially the Dreamcast part at the end. See if I can get that again. Yeah. I love it. Good call on that one. Very awesome. Alright, we're going to do this. Sonic Spinball Japanese commercial. We're doing the... you guys can catch the audio. You can watch along with me in your minds. And it's really the audio for this one that is what matters. Sonic が超音速で弾け飛ぶピンボールゲームに挑戦だ。アメリカ生まれのファンキーアクション。Sonic Spinball メガドライブからソニックのプレゼント実施中。 Oh, it still gets me after all these years. One more time. Come on. One more.
American funky action.
Oh, I love it. Poor Sonic. He's been through so much. What are you going to do? All right, let's see the comments. Oh, dear. Yes, okay, Light Studios on episode 333. I don't understand the the no AV cables. Any VCR can convert RF to AV. Heck, there's plenty of cheap adapters too. That is an excellent point that I never thought of. Having a VCR is not appealing to me, but getting a converter is. We have a main VCR DVD combo in our main room that we use on rare occasions. I still have some VHS tapes I never want to get rid of. VHS tapes were like a warm place in my heart, okay, that we held on to long, long after their death. But I think now I'm finally ready for the most part to let it go. So we're going to try AV to VGA? No. What did you say? Okay, RF to AV. Yes. RF to AV. We're going to give this a shot. Look at that. Look at that. $14 new in the package. And I bet I could go cheaper. That is a beauty. I like that. We're going to wish list that. Wish list, and I will never buy it ever. But yeah, thank you, because that thought, that idea really makes the original Famicom like an acquirable item now. I could get that and play it on a television set. Love that old Famicom, man. That original Famicom design is unbeatable. With all its flaws. Because, yes, I can hear you guys screaming into your iPods or whatever, your phones or whatever you're listening to, that, oh, it had all these problems. The controller wires were so short and they were hardwired in, and if anything happened to the controller, then you were stuck. I know. Big, big problems with that original system. But the way it looked, you talk about iconic. Doesn't get much more iconic than the family computer. Almost as iconic as our American NES. Almost as iconic. If I grew up over there, then it would be miles ahead. But being an American, I am more familiar with my gray front-loading toaster, but almost as familiar. Okay, yeah, I'm still looking at AV stuff. That's done. We'll go back to the comments. We're almost done. Death Adder, just a heads up. I heard that Archive, where a lot of us keep our old podcasts, is under fire and may even be taken down in the future. So in case you need any backup of your old podcasts or anything else you might miss, it wouldn't be a bad idea to back it up now, fam. Yeah, you're right. I'm glad you brought that up. Twitch was awesome back in 2015 when it was like 12 neckbeards playing video games making zero money. But the last time I went there, it was like a borderline adult website. I had a funnier comment about an adult website, but just in case Junior is listening, it's best we keep him pure of heart for now. Old episodes of The Office, Dragon Ball Z, and Bithead 1000 are all a man really needs for entertainment. After a 6-month break from Dead by Daylight, I finally played the new Silent Hill chapter. I swear that game gets worse and worse every time they update it. So much, in fact, that I think I'm a Survivor main now. I've become what I hate the most. The sad thing is, I'm still getting to hate the messages. Right now, the lobbies are all messed up, so my level 14 Survivor is playing with rank 1s who send me hate mail for escaping without foolishly unhooking them at the last second. Worst community ever. But playing against Pyramid Head has been pretty fun. He seems to he seems like a really good killer. Have you checked that out lately? No, I haven't, unfortunately. Somebody told me about Pyramid Head and it looked really dope, but I didn't go back to it. I did go ahead and download it on my phone. I checked out the mobile version. Haven't played it yet. Like I got it, I downloaded it, I got into game, and I played through the tutorial, but I have not actually played a match of it. But yeah, it does look really good. I had a lot of fun with Dead by Daylight. It had problems, but it was a good game. There's a lot of fun to be had there. And yes, I hate it when they do updates because it seems like they always throw the balance off. But I'm also glad that they do them because it kept that game alive a very long time. Much longer than Friday the 13th. I think Friday the 13th was a better game at its core, but they couldn't update it anymore. Death Adder, man. So good to hear from you, brother. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying safe. Hope you're drinking Surge that you bought from the internet. And that one day you'll go back to Soda Pop reviews and whatever you got. Take care, brother. Got a few more from Sendu from over at Light Studios. 335 Mega. Finally, after all these years, you've let me reference Power Rangers from your show. Love the Power Rangers, right? I remember liking them somewhat as a kid. Like, I remember the Green Ranger was a big deal because he wasn't around at first. And then there was like a special when the Green Ranger came around. And I remember watching that with my brother. And my brother explaining, yes, this one is really good because the Power Rangers actually get in real trouble in this one. Yeah, so I remember that. I don't think I've gone back as an adult to check it out. Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, cool stuff. You Power Rangers fans, check out Emerald Rangers. Lots of that stuff. Great print site, Emerald Rangers. Not enough print sites anymore, but that's one of them. All the small sites want to be videos and podcasts. Believe me, I get it. But they do a good job keeping print alive. So thanks for that. Was excited. He says oh my gosh, I'm skipping around. 1 hour and 27 minutes in. You forgot to edit that out. Yes, I'm told. Excuse me. Oh my gosh, that's gross. I apologize. Yeah, I forgot, but it's okay. The greatest mod to anything ever. If I had to vote, I'd say old school Doom online multiplayer. Heck yeah, brother. Skull Tag, Xandronum, and Z-Doom. That gets a thumbs up. I was excited about the FF7 remake until I heard it doesn't go past Midgard. Then I immediately lost all interest. Yes, I would agree with that as well. I was never into the idea, but I didn't know it didn't go past Midgard. I thought they just broke it up into episodic content. What are you going to do? You love PS1 and Cab only play games... Wait. Oh. You love PS1 and can only play games in short bursts. Have you considered getting a Vita? PSN still works on it, and there's a standby button. Any game that can be played in short bursts. I played through Final Fantasy X in short bursts, and it was awesome. I have not considered getting a Vita. I've seriously considered going back and getting a PSP, because I never got to own one of those. Sony Vita. How much does a Vita cost? Stick with me here. This is more CF looks up stuff on eBay. Sony PS Vita bundle. That's a Vita with 3 games. A little less than $200. $200, $220, $170. You know, that's not bad for like a good modern console, but in order to get to that $200 level, there's got to be like, okay, man, I'm getting this Vita so I can play X, Y, and Z. And those are the reasons I'm getting it. All right? Then I could see getting a Vita. Now, I can't really see it like now during quarantine because I'm home all the time around all my consoles. So I don't really feel the need to put too much money into mobile stuff, like to portable stuff. I have my Game Boy if my kids are, locked down all my consoles, which does happen occasionally, but I don't know, man. I would have to look. I'm not shining the idea completely. I'm just saying I would have to look at some of the actual PS Vita games that would be available. But I got a lot of good PS1 games on our PSN account from back in the PS3 days, so I could see that. I could log in, and that would give me access to like Grandia and like the Resident Evil games, the early ones and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you got something there. I don't know. That requires a little bit more thought. But definitely a good suggestion. If you need help with the Steam backlog, we could always use more contributors to our Twitch team. I'll tell you what, Sendu, if I ever do Twitch again, then I'll do it with you, brother. But streaming to me just sounds incredibly dangerous. I don't know. I'm going to be perfectly honest. It scares me because either you get nowhere or you get somewhere and then you get swatted. And swatting is scary. It's frightening. So I kind of gave up on the stream dream, to be perfectly honest. But I want to help out with Emerald Rangers, and I know I've dropped the ball on the typed reviews, which I will get back to at some point. Mystery game reminds me a bit of the old jukebox break. I'm glad you said that because that's kind of the point. The old, if you don't know what he's talking about, Sendu and I met because we were both fans of the same podcast, and they were called Gooch and the Douchebag. They had a pretty decent following about 10 years ago, and a good number of the people I talk to now I met through that site. Not everybody, but Sendu was one of them. He was a fan of GNDB, and I was lucky enough to get in with that crowd, and I got in on several episodes, and yeah, there you go. The rest is history. That's how I met Jerry as well, and then I met a bunch of people through Jerry. So in the early days of TCR, I credit GNDB for a lot of the contacts that I made. A lot of them I made through GNDB, and a lot of them I made through RetroAir TV. So those were the two big places where I sort of got my start building what we have now. So yeah, it's cool to hear you throw it back to them. And that's the last one from Sendu. So thanks for all the comments. I see you listening to a lot of TCR lately, brother. I hope you're doing well. I hope everything's going good for you. I really hope things are going well. Yeah, thanks for letting me be a part of Emerald Rangers. Sip of hot tea for that one. We got one more for the WordStar 4 video. See, use NeoVim in a Unix terminal for Markdown for styles. It's a similar interface, but editing without the need for a mouse is useful, and it's free, and it's still being maintained and updated. Awesome. Yeah. That guy gets a thumbs up. That's cool. I love those old technology comments. They're so awesome. Can I bring up the Dave song? Where is Dave's song? Maybe I can just sub it in, and we can do it that way using the hardware. Give me a second. It's loading here. Come on, Dave song. Where you at? This is so much more. There we go. Yeah, Dave song. Maniac Mansion was such a great game. Oh my gosh. Maybe you don't like point and click games, but that's got to be the best NES soundtrack ever. Mega Man. This is a hot take. This is a video game hot take right here. Mega Man's soundtrack, any one of those 6 games, does not compare to Maniac Mansion. Oh yeah. And this is an MIDI copy. This is a meaty copy. This isn't even the original track. I got this off of VGmusic.com 10 years ago when we started. Oh, grooves so hard after all these years. It still does. And with that, boys and girls, you know what this song means. It's time to bring the show to a close. Hope your lives are going well. Don't let this COVID stuff get you down. Just stay safe. Worry about maintaining yourself. And put some focus into keeping your head up. Really take care of your mental health as well. Take care. Keep doing what you got to do. Keep getting out of bed in the morning. Keep putting your pants on one leg at a time. And I'll see you next week. I'll have to do the fade out myself manually. We'll see how it goes. I think that went okay.